Hi guys, welcome to MedMonics, where medicine is made simple. In today's video, I'm going to teach you a great way to remember the three main planes of the human body. So let's begin. What are the names of the three main planes of the human body? Okay. Three main planes. First, we have the transverse plane, followed by sagittal plane, and last but not least, coronal plane. Let's look at the transverse plane first. Okay, the transverse plane is a horizontal plane which slices through the body in this direction. Okay, and you can imagine it dividing the body into an upper and a lower part. The sagittal plane is a plane that slices through the body in this axis, right? And it gives rise to a left and a right part of the body. The coronal plane slices through the body in this axis, and you might not be able to see it in this picture here, but you can imagine it slicing through the body in this axis and dividing the body into a front and a back part. Now let's look at these planes again in 3D model. Okay. Once again, the transverse plane is a horizontal plane which slices through the body like this, right? In this direction. And it divides the body into an upper and a lower part. Just to be clear, there's no fixed point where these planes have to slice through, right? It can slice through here or here or here or here. Doesn't matter as long as it is in this axis, right? As long as it lies in this axis, it is the transverse plane. Next is the sagittal plane. The sagittal plane slices through the body in this axis. Okay, dividing it into a right and a left part. Again, it can slice to this point, this point, this point, and this point. Doesn't matter as long as it lies in this plane. It is a sagittal plane. Now let's look at the coronal plane in this view. Okay, coronal plane slice through the body in this axis, dividing it into a front and a back part. Once again, it can slice through the body at any point. Okay, it doesn't matter as long as it is a plane that is in, well, I'm not sure you can see it, as long as it is a plane in this axis, right? This axis, it is a coronal plane. Okay, you may be questioning why, or the reason why we need to learn and remember these planes, right? So these planes are mainly used in radiology. Okay, so if you're familiar with CT scan, MRI or PET scans, and you have seen the reports, you'll know that they are basically pictures of the body taken in many slices, right? And these pictures can be taken in many different planes. By learning these three main planes of the human body, we are able to correlate with radiological reports to identify and understand which plane of the body the images are taken from. Once again, transverse plane is the plane that slices through the body horizontally. So let's look at the picture of this brain, right? So when it slices through the plane and the image is taken in a transverse plane, you'll get something that looks like this. When it's taken in sagittal plane, you'll get an image that looks something like this. And when it's taken in the coronal plane, the image would look something like this. So let's imagine this is a CT scan, right? It's a CT report. If I were to describe this image here, I would say that this is a CT scan of the brain in a coronal plane. Okay, by knowing and understanding the planes, we are able to communicate as medical professionals, and we'll be able to understand radiological reports and correlate to them much better. Well, at this point of the video, I think that you may be able to remember the three planes, or the three main planes of the human body, for at least for the next few days, right? But give it a month or two later, if someone were to ask you, like, what is the sagittal plane and what is the coronal plane, you might have some trouble, and you might struggle to recall the axis of these planes, and you might even get them mixed up, right? Well, don't worry. I'm going to teach you a great way to remember these three main planes and their axes for the rest of your medical career. Okay, so keep watching this video. I'll need you to recall the names of the three main planes, and I'll need you to correlate the transverse plane to a tree, sagittal plane to a sage, and we'll think of the coronal plane as a crown. Okay, once again, we have the transverse plane as a train, sagittal plane as a sage, and the coronal plane as a crown. Okay, now let's try to look at the model once again. And I like to start with the coronal plane, right? So the crown for the coronal plane. Now, imagine that you're holding a crown in your hand, right? Let's put it on the head of the 3D model, like it's wearing the crown. Okay, now I need you to imagine doing this with me. Okay, we'll hold it in this direction and we'll slice it down. Okay, imagine it slicing down or sliding it down, and as you're sliding it down, imagine that you are forming the coronal axis. Okay, so this would be the coronal axis. So as you slide it down, imagine that you're drawing the coronal plane. Next, we'll go to the sagittal plane. Okay, sage for sagittal, and we'll just hold it this way. Okay, and we'll be sliding it down in this direction. Okay, I'll be holding it this way, slicing it. Slice it, and as you slice it, imagine it forming the sagittal plane. Okay, last but not least is the transverse plane, and the transverse plane is the train, right? It's the train, and you just imagine the train going through and cutting the body in this plane, and this forms the transverse plane, right? Transverse plane. Once again, okay, the coronal plane, sage, right? The sagittal plane, and the transverse plane. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope it has been helpful to you, and if you like this video and you enjoyed learning from it, do click on the subscribe and the like button below, and I hope to see you again in our next video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.